gonna get started. Okay, so welcome everyone. Let me make sure my sound is good. Can everybody hear me well? Okay, cool. Okay, so welcome everyone. My name is Tondalea DeRosa Caesar. I also go by Tondi, and thank you so much for joining us for this Forward Friday as we close out Earth Week 2021 Regenerates. Now, before we get started, I just want to shout out Candle, the farm plug, for bringing this up because this is so important when we talk about regenerating anything, right? Acknowledging the indigenous peoples of this land. So I am actually based in DC right now, and I know all of us are probably all over the place, from the Black Belt to Tuskegee to the Northwest and all over. So, you know, just acknowledge the indigenous people from where you're from. But I just really wanted to acknowledge, and please forgive me to these ancestors if I pronounce their names wrong, the Anacostans, also known as the Nakachtunk, and the Piscataway and Pamunkey peoples of this area in the Washington, D.C., Anacostia River, Potomac River, DMV area, because before there was a regenerative term, right? Before there was a reclaiming of the land, this land was there. So I just wanted to acknowledge that. And if this is your first time joining us, I just want to thank you so much for being here right now. Even if this is your first time just attending any of the events this week, we just want to thank you so much. And if it's not, and if you've been rocking and rolling with us all week, shout out to you. And thank you again for being with us. Okay, so of course, all of this would not be possible without Tuskegee University and the whole Tuskegee family, including CISC, also known as the Carver Integrative Sustainability Center, Too Fast, or also known as Future Farmers and Agricultural Specialists. And please do check out the Too Fast podcast hosted by Candle, the farm plug. There's so many gems on there, so many things that I've learned on there. And it's a great podcast to just be on the know. And also, of course, the communications team, which I am also a part of, because we've been working so hard to just like promote and get this out here. Yeah, and of course, our lovely panelists extraordinary. I just can't wait until you hear what they have to say. Just them speaking alone, like it's like you almost get chills because they're just so phenomenal and elegant in their speech. And of course, all the viewers who are just here supporting. Yeah. Okay, so for some Zoom etiquette before we get started, please just one mic, y'all, so we can hear everybody. Give it like a second or two, just in case two people respond at the same time. I know sometimes I do that. Also, keep it positive. We're here to elevate and uplift our communities and each other. And please engage, like blow up that chat. And if you have questions, when we get to our Q&A section, feel free to drop your questions in the chat, or if you want to raise your hand to speak. Okay, so yes, and Kendall will be also on that as well. Shout out to her. And of course, if anybody from the Tuskegee team has anything they want to add, or just introduce themselves before we get into introductions of our panelists, please feel free to now. Yeah.
Hey everyone, I'm Candace Clark, also known as Candle the Farm Plug. And like she said, I'll be lurking in the chat, lurking in your mind, pulling those questions out. So please, y'all, do not hesitate to give these beautiful women their kudos and also ask them questions and engage them, right? Whenever we get the chance to link up like this, we really got to take advantage of it. So of course, we have Earth to TU, that Earth to TU, the hashtag series, which will be continuing on throughout the rest of the year. as we continue from regenerative agriculture, right, into our new topic, which we will announce next year's topic at the end of today. So stay tuned for that. And also don't forget, we'll be putting the survey in the chat towards the end, and don't forget to fill that out. Yes. But thank you so much, Tondi. Back to you.
And don't forget, you can get free seeds as well when you fill out that survey, because we have to be able to get your mailing address to send it to you. Yeah, if Dr. Shonga, anybody else wants to add, no pressure or anything.
Nah, just a general welcome. Welcome everybody. Looking forward to this big time.
Okay, so awesome. And for those of you who don't know, Forward Friday is actually a series highlighting women making strides in STEM, ag, science, and now fashion, which I'm excited about this new frontier, and also going into fibers and textiles and just how that is linked to agriculture, because that is something that I feel like we disassociate, especially when we talk about fast fashion and, you know, like how it's manufactured and just the whole the whole system. But I'm very excited for this and this new frontier. Okay, so I also haven't introduced myself. I'm so sorry. So I said my name was Tondalea. And I'm gonna make this real brief because I like to say I'm a woman of many crowns because I do a lot of different things. So I am a sower of the seeds and the seams. Now, when I say that, what do I mean? I do applied agricultural research with hustlers to harvesters. And right now we're in the middle of rebranding, redesigning a lot of things right now. And what we do, we teach and everything from gardening to sustainable regenerative practices, carpentry, health and wellness, and actually applying the things that we research in the garden into your lifestyle. And one of the things that I'm very big on is teaching people how to transform degenerative lifestyles into regenerative lifestyles. And this includes returning citizens, seniors, youth, and families. And I also like to call myself an alchemist as well, because I dabble and dabble with different holistic herbal medicine. And that's something that I'm actually in the middle of doing right now within my own applied research. And then I also am a designer. So that's sewing. You can't see my sewing machine, but it looks kind of crazy from where I'm at. So you can only see this part right here. I'm in the middle of designing a collection as we speak. And I also design spaces. And please do check out Acres of Ancestry. Next week, I'll be dropping there'll be an official launch of a project that I was working on last year. And if you aren't familiar with Acres of Ancestry and the work that they're doing with Black farmers and the injustices that's been happening to Black farmers for so long in this country, please look them up and check them out on their Instagram. And yeah, okay, so enough about me. I would love to introduce these illustrious, I feel like there's not enough words to just describe when we talk about these three women who are about to speak and just about to have this Earth Week is just about to end with a bang. Let me just say that. First, we have Akilah Stewart of Fatla. So my dad is half Haitian and I'm still working on my Creole, but that means trash or waste in Creole. She is a phenomenal designer, and I'm gonna let each of them kind of go, more in depth about them, because you have to just hear it, but I'm just introducing them. And we also have Miko Underwood, who's another fantastic designer of Oak and Acorns, Only for the Rebels. And she just when the first time I heard her speak, like I was just blown away, like just by her wisdom and just like her being. And also, last but not least, Dominque Drake of Sustainable BK or Brooklyn, and also Melanin and yeah, so I'm gonna let and feel free to there's no really specific order, however you feel in your spirit to respond to the questions, or if like everybody on the panel just feels like I want to respond to this, feel free to. But yeah, I'll let them like formally introduce themselves.
Are we popcorn styling it?
Yeah, whoever feels inclined in their spirit to just like.
I'll go first. I'll be real brief because I actually personally despise introductions. So I'm a woman of many crowns and hats and do-rags and berets and fedoras as well. But all in all, I'm from Oakland, California, but I'm Brooklyn based at the moment. I would categorize myself as a non-traditional educator, creative storyteller, ethical fashion advocate, community advocate, and sustainability and social justice impact influencer with all the air quotes. I'm the chief curator of a digital platform called Melanin Ass. The A stands for And Sustainable Style. And ultimately that's a space that amplifies the voices of Black and Brown Indigenous folks across eco-fashion, natural beauty, wellness, land sovereignty, all of those type of spaces across the spectrum of sustainability. And as you also mentioned, I'm the co-founder of Sustainable Brooklyn, which is an organization that works to bridge the gap between the sustainability movement and targeted communities through very intentional events and resource development. And the bulk of why I exist is to, yes, of course, be a disruptor in mainstream fucked up systems, but also to be a connector and a bridge, primarily in Black communities. So yeah, just a little bit about me.
All right, well, now y'all leave me no choice to go after that. Hello, my name is Akilah Stewart. I am the founder of Fachra. Yes, very great pronunciation, Tandi. So Fachra is a Haitian Creole word for waste or trash, and that's what I work with. I analyze and reintroduce back into production. So instead of extracting and creating more materials and more resources, we work with what's already around, more specifically plastic bottles, plastic bags, and recycled leather, items that normally would fill our landfills, and we put them back into production so we can keep clear of pollution and just take care of our environment as a whole. I'm a sustainable fashion and lifestyle educator, as well an alchemist, mixing herbs and foods as medicine. Definitely, I think when you're a woman of the earth and you really deep rooted in sustainability, it just comes out in your lifestyle, and all of these things that we have previously mentioned are just branches of that tree when you're rooted in sustainability fully. And truly, and that's something that I definitely can say is a lifestyle. I actually see my parents on the line, so shout out to them for birthing me in this lifestyle. And yeah, so designer, educator, and all around teaching people how to cultivate community as currency, because it's really the only money that we really need.
Yes.
Thank
you. Oh my God, both those intros are incredible. I love it. It's
Stop it, Miko. Miko about to blow everybody's socks off real quick.
Period.
Talking about, right? She's like, that's why I went last.
Let me take it easy on them real quick.
No. I mean, I'm always humbled by the work because everything that you guys are doing just inspires me. My name is Miko Underwood. I am the founder and designer of Oak and Acorn Only for the Rebels. It's the first sustainable denim brand in Harlem, New York. Our mantra is denim didn't start with Lee, Levi's, or Wrangler. It actually started on the plantations in the American South. Denim was a uniform relegated to the enslaved population. And my job as a denim designer is to tell that story and talk about the connections of indigo as being a hidden commodity of the slave trade and how it shows up in throughout our culture, and how does it show up now, and what can we do to change systems and impact systems around sustainability. Our brand is 100% sustainable. We work with mills and factories locally and overseas, but every piece of our product is either repurposed, recycled, or made through some type of regenerative process. We have an education initiative called the Denim Collective, where I'm able to do stuff like this and speak and be able to reach back to young people and ways of mentorship. And we have a social impact arm, which is We Got Us Now, is our philanthropic partner. It is for, it's a national organization that is led by and about children and young adults who've been impacted by parental incarceration. There's over 10 million children in the United States who've been impacted by parental incarceration. It is an epidemic. And so we draw the lines to, through our product, the story of denim and the enslavement of people to incarceration, and how denim has actually obviously been the uniform of the incarcerated, but there's so much legacy with enslavement and incarceration, and what the systems of incarceration have been, particularly in our communities, to rip us from our rights. And so a lot of the education and the conversation that I talk about is about, what can we do to change things systemically. And I do that through my brand, and I do that through the brand silhouettes. Portion of profits of our product goes back to our nonprofit arm, and just being able to reach back into the communities any way we can. Outside of that, I'm a meditator. I'm a guided meditation practitioner. I'm very much like, as Akilah stated so eloquently, when you are in this work, it becomes an extension of your life. And so everything from mixing and making my own tinctures and all of that, yes, has become an extension of who I am. And I've just fell in love with repurposing and finding things and finding ways. It's been my entire life. I've been doing it since I was a kid. So that's pretty much it. Thank you.
Awesome. I'm sorry. There are some people trying to get in and they're having trouble. So I'm just trying to make sure they can get in. Thank you so much for all of those amazing introductions, way better than I could have done. So that's why I just really wanted to hear all of you. So the first question I have is, so what does the application of regenerative fashion look and mean to you? And I say this because now, since sustainability, right, has blown up just like crazy, right? And now regeneration, now it's buzzing. And when you go into the store, you see so many labels, marketing everywhere. Now everything is so eco, now everything is so green. Now it's wow, now it's we can actually save the world, right? But it's just marketing. And when you look at a lot of these companies in practice, they're not really as regenerative, sustainable as they market to be. So again, what does the application of regenerative fashion look like and or mean to you? And this is open for anybody who feels inclined to respond.
Okay. Well, I'll be brief. I think but I feel I look at sustainability a lot through the scientific eye as well as the spiritual eye. So for me, regenerative means to take one item and to have it split and split and split and be able to produce it and reproduce itself again and again. Like the cell, when you have the cell, it splits and splits, and then it creates life. It brings more life. When you have a plot of land, you plant that one seed, it splits and splits and splits. It creates more. It can sustain itself. And when I look at regenerative work or within the sustainable fashion space, you know, looking at one item and having many uses for that one item, especially when you're in the sustainable, you know, living, you know, you use your lemon for your, you know, I squeeze it into my tea and then I use it for my armpits and then I use it to make the sprays. And I think it's just generally being able to have that vision and look at one thing and figuring out how do you make it sustain? How do you make it last? What's all of the ways you can use or find value within this thing? And I think it's just the same within people and neighborhoods. I know, Miko, you talked about serving, you know, people that live in the margins or the under-resourced. I don't like to say the underdeveloped, but people who have been kept away from resources. And it's the same thing. We're not looking at these people and giving value. We're not looking at our brothers and sisters and saying, hey, you know, you made one bad mistake, you're still a valuable person, or looking at land and considering how valuable it is in order to make our food, our medicines, our clothing. So for me, being able to think everything or look at everything through the lens of being regenerative, it has to have, it's the one thing in having to create value, as much value as possible from that one thing, you know, taking that plastic bottle, which was a bottle, which now is a purse, which still can be broken down to create something else. So yeah, I think just having a vision that's further than what meets the eye and just really having value within the people and the environment that you're working within. And I think you need to consider that at every step of, you know, production, sourcing, manufacturing. You need to consider and give people equity within that. If you are using resources from their land, if you're using, you know, them for labor, if you're using whatever it is, it's a give and take. It's a very, it's a relationship that deserves reciprocity. And I think that's the only way that we can stay in a regenerative state. Sorry, my phone is like going bananas. So yes, that's ultimately how I look at regeneration in the fashion and sustainable worlds.
So I was going to say that from my perspective, I agree wholeheartedly with Akilah and what she has described and her perspective of regenerative fashion. I look at it from a perspective of the education and history, the origin story. I too, Akilah, I'm a science. I actually majored in science and was a pre-med biological cell biology major.
Same.
And
high school and college.
Didn't
always
know
looking
that.
through the scientific, the bio, always.
So I didn't study fashion. That wasn't my thing. I excelled both in arts and sciences, but science was what I actually studied at university. So I love to know how things began and how they started. And so to me, what's so important with my brand, Oak and Acorn, is being able to tell the origin story and pay homage to our ancestors, to be able to give them credence for all of the sacrifices and what they gave and left us. You know, for me, as a denim designer for many years, I had never heard of a story around, we'd always talk about cotton, you know, as far as connecting to enslavement, but even as a denim designer, we just talked about the Western blue jeans, Marble Man, James Dean, but never a denim story about connecting the origins of indigo and how indigo had been the hidden commodity of the slave trade. I never heard that. And so to me, it was really important about, you know, just educating our community about this. And, you know, this is not just a Black story, this is an American story, and it needs to be shared widely. And so, and globally, because what happened was a global commodification of a resource. And so it was really important for me, the way that I show up in the regenerative space and talking about regenerative fashion is being able to, you know, express and share the origins of things, but also through our products, we have functionality, we have versatility in the way the product is used, particularly with our coverall. We have many ways to wear the coverall. It's adjustable. It is meant to be intergenerational as far as inclusivity. It's genderless. And so we see like part of our problem solving is to be able to create clothing that can be used widely and received widely. I've designed clothing for both men, women, children, the whole gamut. And what I found in the men's market is that there's a lot more functionality in clothing versus the women's market. So to me, being genderless is not privileging one gender over the other, but basically being able to show equanimity in our design and be more resourceful in problem solving. And so to me, that was really important to be able to show that when I'm making my clothes. But also, you know, we can't talk about regenerative if we're not doing stuff in the community. And so for us, it's about showing up and how we show up. You know, as a brand, I don't think any brand today can be built without having a strong social impact and social change initiative in their company. And so so much of what the ethos of Oak and Acorn is about not only fabric and traceability, working with our partners for innovation and working with, you know, fibers that come from eucalyptus, sustainably made eucalyptus farms and pine farms, but also using recycled materials. And that's one part, but also it's about education, as I said, and then, you know, our social justice impact arm is basically what we do on the ground in the community. And it's not just about philanthropy, but it's actually being part of the organization, speaking on behalf of the organization, doing things to help change policies and really showing up. And so that's how, you know, that was long-winded, y'all, but that's my perspective around regenerative fashion.
I'm just going to keep it really fluid to connect with both of what these phenoms said. And I think I just want to completely reiterate that both Miko and Akilah provide premier examples of creating localized and circular regenerative business models and systems with regards to how they create in their education. So they literally provide the frontline example of how we should be creating regenerative models and continuing to reiterate these practices. And for me, as somebody who, I see myself as a bridge and a connector in this space, and understanding that regenerative philosophy is a Black diasporic practice, and it's a practice and theory, both together. And whether we're talking about designing out waste and pollution, whether we're talking about aligning with natural systems, keeping products and materials in use for as long as possible, whether we're talking about the importance of, you know, origin or genesis stories of specific fibers and fabrics, these are all ways in which regenerative mechanisms are put into play when we're thinking about systems and systemic approaches. And again, my job, or my passion rather, as a person who continues to create and amplify stakeholders in this space, such as Akilah and Miko, they literally were spot on in trying to articulate the almost mosaic of what regenerative means. It's science, it's spirituality, it's education, it's art, it's history. It's really about holistic relationships and connections. And that goes right back to understanding the heartbeat of who Black folks are. And again, we literally are the DNA of what regenerative understanding is. So I'll leave it at that, but tapping into that level of history and information and access to understand how we continue to articulate and collaborate through regenerative spaces is going to be key in laying a foundation for any type of regenerative work.
it's just everything. It's just the resignation. When you hear it, it's just my mind and my ears right now. It's just the resignation. This is astonishing. Okay, so I feel like you guys actually kind of answered my next question, but I'm gonna just still ask it just in case anybody else has anything to add. How is the work you are conducting intersectional, integrative, inclusive, or innovative within this